This is RTI in Action, a brief overview of how customers are using RTI. I'll start with a quick review of RTI features, move on to the RTI stories, and finish up with links to more RTI information. RTI is an application performance management tool for monitoring web applications that use JBoss middleware. RTI can be used with JBoss directly, as a John plugin, or even as an OpenShift cartridge. RTI automatically discovers the business transactions or requests entering your system and begins monitoring those transactions to produce rate and response time metrics. As transactions arrive, RTI summarizes the overall performance of all the transactions in a lightweight transaction profiling. You can trace individual transactions entering your system using the deep dive transaction tracing to provide method-level context information and trace across JVMs. RTI also collects resource usage metrics, which let you know how resources are being used as you process transactions. Finally, RTI extends the John performance alerting to allow you to collect RTI performance information as problems are occurring. A number of customers are using RTI to support their migration to new versions of EAP. The customers are either migrating from very old versions of JBoss Community Editions, or they're even migrating from competitive products. The customers expect there'll be issues migrating their applications to the new environment, and they want tools in place to be able to diagnose the problems. The customers use RTI profiling in their load test environments to get an overall picture of their performance and spot poorly performing transactions. Then they move to the RTI deep dive trace to diagnose the specific problems. Some customers are using RTI for new application development. They have limited experience with new versions of EAP, and like the migration customers, they're expecting issues when they develop and want tools in place to diagnose them. Similarly, they use the profiling and deep dive trace to detect and diagnose problems in their load test environments. Some customers are using RTI when working with third-party libraries and frameworks. They're using third-party commercial or open source code with which they're not familiar. They've experienced issues in testing or in production, and they want tools to be able to diagnose them. The customers configure RTI to work with the third-party libraries, and then RTI will provide profile and deep dive tracing in their load test environments, and then they continue to use them to monitor and diagnose problems in their production environments. Customers are using RTI to monitor their application performance in production environments. Often they'll continue RTI use from their load test environment to their production environment and reap the benefit of being familiar with the tool already. Customers use RTI metrics in John environments to monitor the performance of their applications down to the transaction level. They can use the RTI profile and deep dive to diagnose any problems that happen in production. They use John alerts to automatically collect diagnostic information as problems are occurring. Some customers are working on developing their performance management strategy for their development process. They can begin performance management with RTI in the development environment using the direct connect to sandbox versions of JBoss. They can continue to use RTI in the test environment for integration and load tests. And they can continue to use RTI in the production environment for monitoring and diagnosis of problems. Customers reap benefits by beginning performance management as early as possible in the development lifecycle. The earlier you find a bug, the less cost it is to fix, and they can take advantage of familiarity with RTI across the development lifecycle to save training time. Here's some final contact information for RTI, for information on the product, on sales and marketing, or technical information.